For those of you who are just joining us today, the course aspiration for this series has been to resource you during this very challenging time in our world. And for those who are interested, to also offer a collective transmission of healing. So we encourage you to just relax and absorb the transmission insights, allowing them to unpack themselves for you. If you have questions today, please type them in the Q&A box. I'm really not so great at following the chats. There is somebody following the chats for us, however, so it's great for chatting with your fellow attendees, but I personally am not going to be monitoring them until afterwards. Like, I will see them later and be able to respond by a follow-up post or what have you. But if you are wanting to have a question answered during the session, especially during that Q&A part at the end, please do use that Q&A feature. At this time, I am going to go ahead and turn things over to the Trinity for a few words before we go into the journey portion of our session. Welcome. We are the Trinity, and today we wish to discuss creating a framework for balance between your masculine and feminine energies. We believe that allowing yourselves to be truly resourced is to know yourself and to know your aspirations. This begins with clarity around where you are today and where you would like to be. To know thyself. We recommend an inventory of major life aspects, and within these, your dominant tendencies. We've talked in previous sessions about the masculine and feminine energies and that balanced expansion energy of the third pillar of our Trinity. And we think that it could be very helpful to do an inventory where you are looking at the dominant tendency of various aspects of your life. Is it masculine? Is it feminine? Is it balanced and expansive? As well, how do you operate within these aspects in relation to the larger collective? For those who like visuals or worksheets, we have a tendency to like the bagua. We see this as a map that encompasses what is relevant to humanity on this plane. We also would encourage you to do self-assessment regarding how each aspect of yourself, body, mind, spirit, feels in relation to each area, and again, how you operate in terms of the broader collective in these areas. We will actually ask your channel to create a worksheet for you. We think this might be most beneficial for those who prefer not to wait. We would say that the areas we believe are of most benefit for you to inventory and assess are these. What are the helpful energies in your life? People, places, and things. What is your sense of knowledge and your willingness and accountability towards your own self-development? We also think that you should reflect upon your family, both your family of origin, which you chose before coming into the life, and also the family that you created during the incarnation. We also feel that creativity, also seen as fertility or children, is a major aspect that humans tend to like to reflect upon and think is an important part of finding joy and contribution in life. Also life purpose or path, your calling, if you will. Many of you will see this as career, though we think this is a limiting perspective. We see purpose as much broader and all-encompassing. We also have found that over time, in the way your history has developed, that many people place judgments on career choice. Many people place judgment on a dissonance within themselves related to a collective expectation around career, when perhaps their life calling is actually more centered around family or non-monetized aspects. And so we would say to use this broader sense of purpose and not necessarily be limiting to career. Relationships, and these are different than family, which we would say is because you have relation to everything, from a place of love and from a place of learning. You have relationships with many different people, many different things. So we say to look at relationships again in a broader way. Prosperity, abundance, wealth, these things are also important to inventory and assess, as well as accomplishment. We find that as you are in this human framework, being able to feel recognized, witnessed for your accomplishments is very important. It is a way of giving yourself affirmation. It is a way of feeling affirmed and feeling like you are actually successful in doing what you came here to do. So this is an area we also think that you should look at with regard to your dominant tendencies. Finally, we want for you to think about your personal life force energy. This is something that many think about on these spiritual pathways, but don't actually look at on a day-to-day basis in terms of, am I driven to use force and action? Am I driven by my life force energy to be a receiver of ideas? Am I balanced in this place? So all of these areas we feel are essential to truly knowing yourself, allowing yourself to look at where you are balanced or where you are out of balance. You will need to ask yourself these questions. And also, you will need to give yourself permission to be temporarily out of balance if the dominant energy is what is needed for what you are focused on, working on, or wishing to accomplish. So remember to be gentle and kind with yourselves as you do inventory and assessment of where you are in life. Also remember that the pendulum swings are necessary for growth and expansion to occur. We also want to encourage you to recognize, and we want to reiterate this because we think that your society does not, in this current time, support this, at least not to the degree we would hope, but we wish for you to remember that rest and being, receiving, these things are in fact doing, and they are necessary. They are necessary and essential for your joy, for your happiness, for your ability to create. So force, the divine masculine energy, and form, the divine feminine energy, must work together to create balance and expansion. They are friends and best when both are honored. And so when you look inward at how you are framed, at what you are trying to create, and where you are, and you're looking at those gaps, remember that sometimes you are not actually in a gap. You are in a temporary imbalance because of something necessary. Now, it is when the imbalance is not healthy that you must go deep inside to assess what those blockages are. And we believe that brutal honesty is one of the most helpful tools. We find often as we work with humans that there is an inclination to be somewhat self-deceiving. Sometimes it is to be humble. We see this with a lot of empathic people, and so this is why we lead with this here with this particular group, is that many of you are empathic. You are inherently coming from a place of love, and so you sometimes are self-judgy and sometimes self-limiting. And so we really encourage that your brutal honesty includes celebration. Celebration of who you are, celebration of how far you've come, and then also a very clear and honest assessment of those places that you think are blocks. No to your aspirations. Aspirations are keenly tied to what you have come into the world to do. However, again, you may have aspirations that have to do with comfort and stability. And because many of you are wanting to create a better world, there is a tendency to always be looking at what more can I do? What more can I do? So it is okay to be with aspirations that are about comfort, that are about stability, that are about financial wellness. Do not feel that that is contrary to a life well lived in spirit, because we are in an abundant universe. Although you are currently in a restricted timeline, this is temporary. We know how challenging it is in this particular moment, especially with the great uncertainty of how long you will be in this phase of essentially being quarantined is the word that is being used in your dominant media. We would say that you are more in a space of forced self-reflection. Some of you are avoiding that self-reflection. And we say that broadly. We don't think that those of you who are actually on this call are those who are avoidant. But we do know that there are many in your collective who are not taking what is happening in the world seriously. And we understand that this is frustrating for those of you who are. But when you give yourselves practical tools and you have these people in your lives, you can share with them the practical tools that don't feel too far out there, right? So a lot of times you gain information from all of these spiritual and mindfulness webinars or self-development that you participate in, but finding a language that helps you to speak to those in your wider collective that is useful for helping you achieve your aspirations that are further out than your individual self can be really helpful. And we know we have just gone off on a tangent, or your channel inside her head was like, you are going on a tangent. We need to have enough time. And so we are going to bring ourselves back. We find her to be delightful inside when she is trying to get our attention. And she is wanting us to really go back to this piece of knowing your aspirations, because she wants to make sure that you have enough time in your journeys today. So we go back to balance as part of that aspiration. It is important to feel balance in each of your systems, body, mind, and spirit. And this requires a compassion for yourself, a compassionate honesty that allows you to assess where you are and where you aspire to be in order to discern appropriate action. When you know who you are and are not dishonest with yourself, and you know what you are aspiring towards, you can better ascertain how to build the bridge and how to cross it. As well, you will be able to discern who or what can support you. And today we are wanting to take you on a journey, as we have in the last few sessions, to resource you, body, mind, and spirit. We're wanting today to use what we have already built on this notion of consciousness descending from source to spark your inner truth, combined with your personal life force energy, as well as the energy of Gaia. And what we want to say in relation to what we were talking about with regard to knowing yourself and knowing your aspirations is that as you strengthen your points of clarity and doors open for you from the universe, you are strengthening your life force energy. And all of you have come here with incredible gifts to share. You are of source and have a beautiful baseline of life force energy. But what happens in the physical density, or at least what happens for many in the physical density, is a sense of separation or disconnect from that source energy as you learn to be in the physical density. And this is especially true for those of you who perhaps don't come to physical planes often, or who spend more time on different physical planes than Mother Earth. And so when you are clear, your connection to your own divine source energy is strengthened, amplified, and it magnetizes to you ease in fulfilling your missions. And so this piece of clarity work, the self-inventory, the willingness to be brutally honest with yourselves about where you are versus where you want to be, and also recognizing and celebrating your accomplishments, all of these things really help to build your life force energy, and therefore your ability to actually do what you came into the world to do. And so when you find yourselves in times like this, because you all have in some ways known that you are coming into a timeline to uplift, to be a significant contributor to a timeline pivot or shift, you're here to make the world a better place. You're here to make the collective stronger and to help Mother Earth thrive again. And we can't help but be delighted when we look at the future timeline that you are headed towards, because we see this great restoration that happens. And we invite you to allow yourselves, perhaps for those of you who stay for the second part of the journey, you might weave into that intention a peek at the future timeline of the Earth. Because when you allow yourselves to touch that, the hard work has been done here. It doesn't seem like it, because all of the actions and the change and the compelling stories that need to be told in order to get people to take the actions that change your world, all of that hasn't happened, but only in linear time. The manifestation has happened, and it is happening now, and you are all part of that. And so when we look at what is happening, and though we have an understanding that you are finding, some of you are finding yourselves challenged in this moment, the other side of this is beautiful. It is delightful and inspiring, and how you as individuals claim the truth of who you are and determine how to contribute outward plays such a huge part in what is to come. And we can say from our knowing outside of timeline constraints that you are all incredible creators. You are co-creating a new reality for this timeline. Many of you will not see it until you are on the other side Some of you may even come back to help with the next phase. But what is manifesting right now is a deep and great knowing, a deep and great healing, and a necessary pivot. And we look at this group that has formed and is here today, and we say that every single one of you are change agents. And so we are thrilled to be with you. You are powerful beyond what you know. And so we are going to move into this journey so that we can have as much time as possible on the other side with Q&A. We want to just give a bit of a heads up around the journey. We will be adding triangles formed in the opposite direction of the triangles that we have built in our previous journeys in order to form Merkabas in each of the triads we discussed. For those of you who are new to sacred geometry, the Merkaba is a spinning force field that acts as a vehicle for your spirit and your awareness to transport you to higher consciousness. This can produce a sensation that is dizzying for some. Some may feel floaty. If you feel discomfort, use or focus on something from the earth. Or if you happen to know for certain that you are of cosmic origin, bring a star into your root chakra. For those of you who are telepathic, this journey may expedite the speed of communication or downloads rather than actually transport you. So we would just say that if you don't feel like you're moving anywhere, just allow yourself perhaps to go into automatic writing. For telepathic people, sometimes there's a higher self-decision to actually stay in the physical rather than separate, because they know at a core level that they can actually communicate telepathically without disturbing the energetic field. So we want to recommend that you have water to stay hydrated during your journey. For those staying on for the second part of the journey, we want you to know that we will be adding a crystalline sphere energetic to take you to a cosmic consciousness of your higher self's choosing. Spheres represent unity, both at the micro level of individual body, mind, spirit integration, and at the macro level of the whole of our multiverse. It is our hope that you will continue to use the journeys we provide to assist you during this time of great shift. You will be walked through the triangles by your channel, who is we are going to exit her physicality in order to hold space for you in your spaces. And she will walk you through the triangles and positioning. We do see that and feel that there is a question from those who have not been here. So do not worry, you will be walked through it. We want to remind you that if you are not visual, that you can think of things in reality or use your imagination. Today, your channel read something that we found to be quite delightful. So we are going to share it with you. And we just quote something that she read. And it said, the union of imagination and reality is beautiful. And we share this with you because a lot of times when people are going into these journeys, there is almost this desire to do it right. And sometimes if you're new to journeying in this way, there's a little bit of an anxiety about, making things up as opposed to receiving things. And so we just want to say that we would like this quote of the union and imagination, the union of imagination and reality being beautiful, because it really is such a beautiful pathway. Your channel is knocking on our head, her head, but it feels like ours because we are in it. And she is saying that she wishes for us to make sure that you know that she read this on her CoStar astrology application. This is one of Reese's favorite on-planet resources, so she is excited to share it with you. As you journey, you may wish to draw or doodle, or simply know and intend. You may sense or feel rather than know or see. Whatever you receive is what is needed. Transmissions of this nature will unpack themselves within you when and how your system is ready to receive them. So if you fall asleep or don't remember a thing after your journey, it is just fine. You will be hearing words as your channel walks you through the journey, but mostly you're receiving a transmission, which may result in recalibration of your field. We do like to encourage note taking because we find that many of you receive a lot of information, and it's better to try to think about it or unpack it outside of the journey rather than getting too heady with what just popped up and not allowing yourselves to receive the fullness of the transmission that is coming. For those who are just joining us today, we want to be sure to acknowledge that some people do experience a discomfort other than that dizzying feeling that we mentioned before. Sometimes that is a ringing in the ears or kind of a spasming of the muscles or even organs energetically, or they may feel speedy. Sometimes this speaks to a resistant frequency within you. Resistant frequencies aren't always about your own resistance. It could be something ancestral in your DNA. If this happens, simply acknowledge the frequency and ask it to leave your field with the stated intention that you will revisit to hear the messaging at a later time. If it remains, we recommend visualizing a platinum blue spiral, enveloping the discomfort, and you might consider diverting your journey to explore the resistance, because that may be what is most needed at this time. We also want to remind you that if your body, mind, or spirit truly needs to simply refuel, it is generally our recommendation to leave after the resource part of the journey rather than continuing on for the shining your light. You can always rejoin through the recording later, but our primary desire is for you to feel reconnected with your source energy. And so allowing for that transmission to happen in full is recommended. So we will return after the journey and open things up for Q&A in terms of speaking through your channel, where we will be deploying ourselves during the journey is to you directly, to hold your space and hold the space for the collective. So now we are going to return you to your channel. Okay, for those of you who are just joining us today, we use in these journeys triangles. One is called the supernal triangle, and it connects the hemispheres of the brain with source energy, or the crown, or gateway. And so that presents as an upward facing diamond triangle. And again, during the journey, you will be walked through the visualization of it. So no need to worry about that. The second triangle that we go into connects the shoulders and the heart. For some people, you're going to want to expand that to include the throat. So if it feels like it's too small, expand and include the throat. And that's a downward facing golden triangle that is called the ethical triad or triangle. And that's the masculine energy. So the top one is the source energy, then the masculine, and then the feminine energy joins hip to hip down into the root, and it is a downward facing silver triangle. Okay. So we also want to remind you that we do refer to left as feminine and form and right as masculine and force. But some of you are here as mirrors and gateways. And so you might find that your body map is opposite the generalized information. So though you will be guided in the journey to focus on left to right or right to left, you know, if you feel inclined to do the opposite, just trust your instincts. So we are just going to invite you to get ready to receive an energetic transmission from the Trinity. And again, for whatever reason, they are sort of browbeating this point of take notes, take notes. So there must be some folks on this call who will really benefit from jotting notes down. So I'm just going to have you relax and allow your breath to connect to source energy through a stream of connective light. Invite source to clear your field with white light. Taking a few deep clearing breaths into your pelvic floor. Now strengthen your physical and etheric bodies with gold light. Taking deep breaths into your pelvic floor and then directing a few of those breaths into your lower lobes of your lungs. This opens up receptivity. So deep breaths with golden light. Inhaling deep into the pelvic floor. Exhaling up your spine and out your crown. Inhaling into the lower lobes of your lungs. Exhaling, following your breath. We are going to have you seal in clarity with diamond light. Again, breathing into your root for a few breaths, and then into the lower lobes of your lungs. And just allow these light codes to infuse your body, mind, and spirit with their frequencies. Bring your awareness to Mother Earth and invite her to send up her grounding, centered, loving energy. Now set the intention to resource your body, mind, and spirit. To allow Source and the Trinity to infuse you with a deep remembrance of your strength and innate knowing. Now focus on your ears and move inward and upward to each hemisphere of your brain. Visualize or simply intend for the first line of a diamond triangle to form across the hemispheres of your brain, joining form to force. Next, visualize each side of your brain simultaneously forming a connection to your gateway chakra, which is about 6 to 7 inches above your crown. Allow the triangle to grow its vibration. Now place your awareness in front of your heart and envision the Trinity as a link to Source. Invite the Trinity into your supernal triangle and ask them to help you expand it into a 3-dimensional upward facing pyramid, filling this in with diamond light. Allow this pyramid of source energy to vibrate and to infuse your body with whatever your body is wanting and needing from this frequency. Release to Source all that you are wanting to release. Breathe here for a few breaths, filling the voids that you've just created with this pure source energy. Now focus your awareness on your shoulders. Visualize or simply intend for the first line of a golden triangle to form across your shoulders, joining left to right, form to force. And now visualize each shoulder forming a connection to your heart, allowing the triangle to be formed and to grow its vibration. If you feel the need to expand the triangle to include your throat, do so. Now place your awareness in front of your heart and envision Soul, our beautiful sun, forming in front of you. Invite Soul into your ethical triangle, asking him to help you expand it into a 3-dimensional downward facing pyramid, filling this in with golden light. And just allow this pyramid of ethical energy to vibrate and to infuse this area of your body with whatever your body is wanting and needing from this frequency. Release to Soul all the burdens and worries. Release grief. Breathe here for a few breaths, filling the voids with this solar infusion. And focus your awareness on your hips. Visualize or simply intend for the first line of a silver triangle to form across your hips, joining left to right, form to force. And then visualize each hip simultaneously forming a connection to the pelvic floor. Now place your awareness in front of your heart and envision Luna, our beautiful moon, forming in front of you. Invite her into your alchemical triangle, asking her to help you expand it into a 3-dimensional downward facing pyramid, filling this in with silver light. And just allow this pyramid of lunar energy to vibrate and to infuse this area of your body with whatever your body is wanting and needing from this frequency. Release to Luna whatever is ready to be released. And breathe here for a few breaths. Fill the voids that you've just created with this beautiful lunar alchemy. Now bring your awareness to your feet, inviting Mother Earth to support you. Breathe with her for a few breaths. Now bring your awareness to your pelvic floor and invite your life force energy to ignite. Focusing on the silver pyramid of alchemical and lunar energy, ask Luna to support you in visualizing an upward facing pyramid of silver light, joining with the downward facing pyramid to form a Merkaba. Breathe here for a few breaths. Just allowing yourself to feel that Merkaba forming, its energy pulsating. And now repeat this at the golden pyramid of ethical and solar energy, asking Soul to support you in visualizing an upward facing pyramid of gold light, joining with the downward facing pyramid, again forming a Merkaba. Breathing here for a few breaths. Feeling the beautiful energy pulsating and vibrating. And now we're going to repeat this at the diamond pyramid of supernal and source energy, asking the Trinity to support you in visualizing a downward facing pyramid of diamond light, joining the already formed upward facing pyramid, forming a Merkaba. And just allow that Merkaba to feel ignited. Allow yourself to feel it in the hemispheres of your brain, pulling upward to that source energy connection. And breathe here for a few breaths. And just allow yourself to receive a connection from source energy, allowing light to stream down through each of those Merkabas, lighting up your central corridor with a pillar of connection. And next, we want you to expand all of these Merkabas outward so that they surround you and become one giant iridescent Merkaba, enveloping the whole of your being. And I want to invite you to make sure that you have expanded it outward enough, remembering that your fields are large. And allow yourself to feel yourself encompassed and enveloped by that light. And now we want you to visualize or imagine spinning the upward facing pyramid clockwise. Allow yourself to feel that rotation. And then bring your awareness to the downward facing pyramid, spinning it counterclockwise. Again, if you're compelled to do these in the opposite direction, do so. And we want you to set the intention to allow the Merkaba to bring you to a sacred space with the Trinity. Whatever way they show up, whatever landscape your Merkaba takes you to, trust that it will lead you to where you can be most resourced today. Receive all of the supportive energy that comes to you, allowing yourself to be nurtured along this journey. Take it all in, allowing your body to receive all that is being given. And breathe here, simply allowing the journey to take place, knowing that various points along the journey of your connection with the Trinity will bring you to see, sense, or feel beautiful spaces. Know that each of these places has healing and source energy for you. And be mindful, healing can be simple. It may be complex. It can just be a receiving of recalibration, or it can be a download of information. It can be cleansing. Whatever is needed will show up. Trust your higher self to receive and guide you within this beautiful sacred geometry. We are going to leave you in this connection for about 11 minutes, and we will guide you on the return. We ask that you begin wrapping up this part of your journey. For those who are going to drop off the call to enjoy this resource on its own, please return to your Merkaba and ask that it bring you safely into the present, anchoring properly into your body with deep grounding breaths to bring yourself present. You will want to allow each line of each Merkaba to dissipate in order to truly ground back into the present and into your physicality. Once all of that energy has dissipated, you will want to pull up Mother Earth energy and take deep clearing breaths and go ahead and drop off the call when you are ready. For those staying with us, we want you to breathe into that Merkaba, allowing yourself feel its expansion. If you so desire, you may envision that you are expanding and connecting your Merkaba with everyone on the call, allowing yourself to feel the vibrations of the collective energy. And now we want you to envision your favorite color or the color you feel most called to focus on today. And just visualize or imagine that you are merging with this color. Allow it to light up your entire energy field. And we want you to allow yourself to feel your body melting into a crystalline sphere of this luminous color. Just allowing yourself to feel this sphere, merging with that energy deeply, every aspect of your being, allowing your body to just melt away, bringing your awareness fully into that crystalline sphere. And we want you to set the intention to travel out into the cosmos of your soul's alignment, to be fortified by your cosmic sanctuary. And for some of you, that might be Gaia. Allow yourself to witness the cosmic doorways and corridors, the stars and the planets. Just take it all in. Feel the unity consciousness, knowing that collectively we are aspects of the multiverse, of source energy. Now we want you to set the intention to shine your light, offering healing, peace, and any other intentions you have first for yourself, the beloved within. For any family members or friends that you want to focus on. For essential workers throughout our collective, for the collective as a whole, all sentient beings on the planet, including the elements and our sweet Mother Earth. intending to infuse your light and direct our connected stream of source energy to all those open to receiving. We will leave you in this connection for 7 minutes to allow for your directed intentions and for you to receive any messages from your sacred space in the cosmos, from your own cosmic sanctuary. We're just going to ask that you wrap up your journey, allowing yourself to return your awareness to your sacred space, your cosmic sanctuary. Offer an expression of gratitude to that space and any kindred spirits that showed up, to the Trinity. And call all of your energies back into your crystalline sphere, allowing your body to be reignited, allowing yourself to feel body, mind, and spirit inside of that sphere, setting the intention to return to the present. Once you've reconnected with your physical body, look out at that multiverse. Know that you are a divine aspect of source energy. Acknowledge the collective Merkaba and allow it to dissipate as you fully anchor into your own body. Take deep, clearing breaths and visualize the dissipation of each Merkaba. From your head, from your heart space, from your root. Really breathing into your body, looking out at your fields, making sure you've not brought anything back with you that you did not intend to bring. And just clear your energy, pull up Mother Earth energy, anchor back into your body and into the present. And if there are any questions, we are happy to open up these last 10 or so minutes for Q&A. So someone has just asked in the Q&A box what the beautiful necklace I have is, and it is, let me stand closer. It is. It's a Sri Yantra. And I want to say that the Sri Yantra was guided. This necklace, I was told by the Trinity to wear it today. So I want to I see that somebody has their hand up, and I am going to allow that person to talk. I guess that's an option, which I did not know. I do want to say, because I see a lot of the questions that are coming in some of them are like personal questions. I'm happy to answer them, but I'd like to answer the ones that are more general. That would be for everyone first. All of the questions will be collated, and we will respond to them. So I'd love to do the things that are more general and would be beneficial for everyone in that way, and then do personals if we have time. So first I'm going to do the Phyllis and Lee, you have your hand raised. So I am going to press this button that says allow to talk, but I want you to know and make sure that you are fine with the fact that you are being recorded and this is intended to be published. So if you want to still talk, then I'm going to press allow to talk. If you don't, feel free to decline. Hi. Do you, oh, I pressed allow and it, do you guys have a question, or one or the other of you?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you hear us?
Yes. So,
Okay.
and you're okay with being recorded and published, yes?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that we have that consent. Go ahead.
We would like to know what changes in humanity in the USA does the Trinity see?
And I'm sorry, you specifically said in the United States? What
Yes.
changes in the United States does the Trinity see?
Yes. And also, was the virus man-made?
Okay. So we will answer the easy question first, which is, was the virus man-made? The virus was not man-made. The virus is Mother Earth's response to toxic overload on this planet, in concert with the collective consciousness striving for a shift. So we would think of it as an immune response. And your planet has seen many of these responses in the past, and we would say that this has the potential of happening again. But this particular virus was not man-made. We will say that we are aware of other viruses that were, but this is not one of them. And then we want to speak to what we feel is a very complex and could potentially have a very lengthy response, but we will keep it as short and sweet as we can, which is the answer to what we see in terms of your timeline when we are outside of it, regarding what happens next in the United States. We see a significant amount of policy change that will begin happening at local levels. These changes will affect institutions at every level. We see the beginning of change to your political structure, though some of you will not see that true and complete shift in your lifetimes. We do see an uprising that will cause a deconstruction of many of your existing institutions. Many of the children who have come in since about 2001, 2002 are here as part of a mass volunteerism, if you will, to offer up advanced systems and protocols. And so we see their generation as being the generation that is successful in actualizing the major shifts. We see those who are part of this group that's here today being thought leaders, spiritual wisdom teachers, those who enable these younger generations to actually do their work. You will set foundations and seed what is the future reality on this planet. So what we see for the United States is a very turbulent political landscape coming up. We are concerned about what we see in your politics for this temporary period, but we do feel, based on what we are seeing outside of your timeline, so if we look at things holographically, which is the way we look at them, is that we see that what is going to happen and what feels turbulent for those of you living in it is a catalyst for significant and long-term change, a shift towards unity consciousness. But there is the cleaning of all of the houses, from your financial institutions to government institutions to healthcare and education. And again, we see this beginning at local levels and growing outward. We see that you are currently seeing at the front of change those leaders who are effective and addressing things are potentially future political leaders. So we would say that you are seeing some of your future, perhaps your future president has there's free will in the collective, but we would say that one of the most outspoken people, which they have free will, so we will not say who they are, but we will say that your potential future president, not in this upcoming cycle, but in the next one, is at the forefront of making hard decisions and putting the climate first. And so we see widespread change at every level. We also see many large organizations rethinking the way they do business. Most corporations in this time who have right-aligned missions with the way the energy of the collective is going are starting to see the value of remote work. They are learning that systems and structures that exist today with our technology can be of great benefit. And so we see some things changing in large-scale organizations that will impact things like real estate and how people work, how people travel. So we see some shifts in industries, dominant industries as well. It is wide scale, very broad, and in some cases you'll see swift change, and in others it will take longer. So as much as we'd like to say we see swift change in your politics, we would say that that's one of the areas or arenas that will be slower to change. So again, if you think of things from the perspective of the individual changing, thereby changing their local community and then influencing outward, that is how we see change across the globe, and in particular in the United States.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much. So I am going to look at this list. So there is a question on the virus that I'm going to answer since we just talked about the virus. So the question is regarding the virus, are we on track now for the timeline, or are we looking at a further extension? So we are assuming that you are specifically asking about your location, and we are not sure that that's the case, but if you are specifically asking about the timeline in Washington State, we would say that we anticipate a small extension, though we will say that decision has not been made. Free will impact that, and your particular leaders are quite cautious. There are other states who we anticipate will have very lengthy extensions imposed because their populations are not quite falling into compliance in a way that is creating enough of a shift for government officials to feel that their people can remain safe and that they are moving in the right direction. So it is different by locale, and that decision will be different by locale. But we do think for those of you who are in Washington State that you are seeing perhaps a more effective response and compliance rate than in some other places. And therefore your extensions, well, we would also say that your governor is very reluctant to impose more than is necessary, but is also very cautious. So we would say to trust what comes out of that office in terms of an extension, and to know that it will be made mindfully. But we have a difficult time with predictive elements around this virus because of the sheer number of people and their travel patterns who are non-compliant with what is happening in the world and what is being recommended and not taking things seriously. So when there is this great mass of free will impacting a collective, predictive elements are very difficult, even though we sit outside and can see these many different timelines. There's a compression or an expansion based on free will elements when it comes to actual dates and timelines, if that makes sense. Somebody asked that, or states that they heard that Friday and Saturday are particularly important to stay home. And is this something that the Trinity also recommends? Yes, we absolutely recommend. So on behalf of the Trinity and all of my guides, so the Council of Light, all of my other guides, we strongly encourage you to be hyper conscious of your routines and to stay home over the next, where are we at? So we are looking into Tuesday. So Friday and Saturday, yes, please stay home. So that's that. Someone got the message around sound healing being beneficial and helpful. So by and large, the Trinity and all of my guides recommend sound healing. Specific to the querent, I am hearing that singing bowls and triangles, as well as tuning forks, would be helpful for you. There is a question about lifestyle changes that can improve this connection and the allowing of these energies. And we would say that consumption is a huge aspect of allowing for the connections to move through you. Basic nourishment, self-care types of things. And having routine or a ritual around inviting connection. So we encourage the invitation as well as pathways to allow for response. And then we also encourage examining consumption in terms of making sure that your body can actually receive high frequencies. I do want to remind you that I am seeing questions most easily in the Q&A box. I do think that there are some questions in the chat box and I'm not very skilled or adept at that whole thing. So if you have typed a question into the chat box and you want to copy and paste it into the Q&A box, that would be so helpful for me since I'm not good at the multitasking of these different places. Someone is asking if we want to continue this journey, are there other sources of ongoing transmissions or ways we can continue to open to new frequencies and messages? So if you are wanting to continue working with the Trinity energy in particular, they have asked me to offer private sessions called, I think they called them ReSource with the Trinity. And so you can book a private session. If you are open to other energies, One Illuminated offers many classes. We offer a series called Harmonics. The base or core class is called Harmonic Integration of Higher Frequencies. It is very similarly structured to these resource calls where there is a channeled message followed by journeying, but those journeys usually involve sacred geometry and even more than this, or like they always involve sacred geometry. I guess this did too. I don't know what I'm saying. So it involves sacred geometry and they're very personal. So it's not necessarily about like just making that connection to resourcing. There's also a deep exploration into your own soul signature and your purpose. So that is a pathway. I also have been asked by other collective consciousness entities to continue to offer these types of webinars. So we will be offering more. The next set will be with a group called the Marakai. They are the children of the North Star. And they work with element energy and cosmic energy. And but the future resource and shine sessions are going to have a nominal fee, whereas the Trinity sessions were given with the request of giving back out into the world. The future ones are likely to have a fee, but it will be affordable. So there's that. And then just in terms of like on your own, again, allowing yourselves to invite in daily practice where you are setting intention. Like you can keep using these resource journeys and actually shift or change the intention of what you are connecting with or what kind of messaging you want to get. So if these types of things are useful and helpful for you, allow yourself to be playful in terms of the request or the intention that you are setting. So I am going to answer, I have 3 more questions that are up here and then I'm going to have to wrap up. So one is, if we are having trouble trusting what our purpose is or have trouble honing in on one thing, will we receive clarity if we keep working on connecting to source? So what the Trinity is wanting to say to you, and then also for you specifically, I'm getting the Mary Magdalene energy kind of thrust forced a little bit. And what she's saying is that when you allow yourself to really connect with source with an intention of receiving information about your soul signature and your life purpose, you will not be steered in the wrong direction as long as you allow yourself, body, mind, and spirit, to work in an integrated fashion to receive the responses. So part of it is that piece of being brutally honest with yourself that I think was talked about a little bit earlier in this session. But yes, absolutely, if you work on your connection to source and strengthening that life force energy that runs through you and connects you to source, you absolutely will get more clarity. But it does take some reprogramming, because we often second guess ourselves in terms of what we're hearing from our higher self. And a lot of people, this is one thing I want to say to this group, because it's my experience with a lot of people who come to me as students. For many of you who have trouble honing in on one thing, and you have a lot of interests and you can master a lot of things, it is often because you came here to be a spiritual teacher or a teacher in some way. And all of the different things that you're attracted to enable you to be accessible. So it enables you to be accessible to perhaps the future people that you are supposed to help, uplift, teach, inspire, whatever. So we have to have matching harmonic resonance with those teachers and students in our lives. And so if we have a very limited experience and we only focus on one thing, then we can anticipate that, we can be teachers for people about that one thing. But if you're called in different places, it's often to allow you to touch the frequencies and work with the frequencies of those you came here to serve. So understand and know that sometimes what feels like a scattered focus is actually a collecting of experiences and a strengthening of frequencies in order to enable you to fulfill your mission and purpose. So the next question is, what happens if the government official's free will is different from the decision of the will of the collective? Which one prevails? Oh, so this is fun. The Trinity has apparently just invited other energies to come in. So I feel the Trinity, but I also am feeling some really strong energy that is coming from one of the United States past presidents. So, and I have never channeled this particular person before. So with me is Eisenhower. And the Trinity. And what they're wanting to say is, ultimately, the will of the collective will prevail. That said, the collective must do the work to remove officials who are outliers, to support people who have the will of the collective in body, mind, and spirit as future candidates. And so, okay, Eisenhower is also saying, and somebody's got to have the balls to change the structure. So there's that. By and large, what they are saying and what is coming through is that indeed the will of the collective will prevail. But the timeline aspect of that, is questionable, because if we allow officials to be in power and to retain that power, and a decision must be made that is contrary to the collective, and they can make it, there's a high probability that in that moment, their will can prevail. But one can't sustain that if the collective is willing to create the shift. And the last question that I'm going to take before I wrap up is this: will things get worse economically and politically in the near future? And how can we help to hasten changing this for the better? So the short answer is yes. We will see a harsher time economically and politically. We will see a great shift towards caring for people economically in a way that we as the collective really have not done. And so when we say that we see it getting worse, we mean that the economy as a whole will get worse. But simultaneously, you live on quite an abundant planet, and there are many resources. What we see is that as you approach economics from a more holistic and unity consciousness framework, that you will start to see an expansion of how you view currency. So we see over the long haul quite a significant change to the financial and abundance mentality of the world at large. We see a movement towards a global economy. We see a movement towards open source currency, which is not all based in money as currency, but in an expanded version. In old or ancient times, you know, this was seen as bartering or trade, and you've seen a few movements of organizations coming together to look at how to bring that back to the fore. And we would say that what we have seen as we looked upon your timeline and as we look at it now is that there is a different type of economics that emerges from this timeline. And though it is harsh and difficult at first, it becomes a beautiful and appreciated thing. And the thing that you can do at an individual level to hasten change for the better is to be influential where you can. So shine your light at the local level. If you have political clout, use it. Allow yourselves to use your networks and be the influencers that you're capable of being. The politics, as we mentioned, are going to change. They are going to perhaps seem very unfortunate before they seem better. And we think many of you will be disappointed in upcoming elections. if you do not do the work that is required to, again, be influencers, be willing to talk about things in a way that embraces unity consciousness, be willing to educate even those who are resistant. And we're not saying to force your beliefs on others, but rather to have dialogue that creates an open space for honesty, that creates an open space for valuing and respecting one another. We feel that politics, specifically in your country and in many others, is a place where many people shut down. And we say to you that shutting down and avoiding the conversations does not further the collective. So we encourage you to have the conversations and to do so in a way that is respectful and from a place of loving kindness, but also loving detachment. What happens a lot in political discourse is that there's a defensiveness and an ugly, perhaps angry energy that can come out, or a withdrawal and shut down. And these things are not helpful. What is helpful is true discourse. So the thing that can hasten change for the better is to be willing to step into the truth of your observations and the truth of your hearts, and to have conversations, to talk to one another, to use this time to talk across the political divide and to envision a unity consciousness. So how can we move from where we are to actually making progress towards what is needed, and being brutally honest about what is needed as well. So we say first step is what we introduced to you early on, which is go and do your own work to figure out, are you dominating aspects of your life with masculine energy or feminine energy when you really need the opposite, right? So what is actually needed and what are you offering up? So being honest with yourself in terms of your own personal contributions, and then looking outward at how you can contribute. Once people have the tools, so many people here on your planet are here from this beautiful place of wanting to assist with this change, with participating in the up-leveling of the human consciousness. And where people stumble and fall is getting off track, getting caught up in things without remembering the truth of who they are. So we say, know yourself, know your aspirations, and then grow that out, trickle it out into the world in all of the spaces that you travel. And with that, we want to thank you all. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for creating space in your bodies, minds, and spirits to allow us to work with you through our channel. We look forward to all that is to come, because we are excited about it. We see this beautiful unity consciousness emerging out of this very devastating situation. And for us, we are fortunate, we are detached, we don't have the emotion that you have. Even sitting in our channel's body, we can feel her emotion. We can feel how deep the wounding on your planet is, and how desirous she is, and how desirous so many of you are who are in her energy field, of seeing a beautiful change. And you are here to achieve that. So remember that you are a divine aspect of Source. Remember that you can access us either through your channel, our channel, or directly if you allow. for that. We simply need to be invited. Again, it has been our pleasure and our joy to be with you and to have had this time. We know that our channel wants to say a couple of things, so we are just going to exit and allow her to close on her own as well. Thank you so much. It has been a pleasure and my great honor to have channeled the Trinity for you and to have had so many of you stay with us for these 3 sessions. We hope that they have been useful and helpful, and we want to make sure that you know just a couple of little housekeeping things. We will be posting a page for you guys. My goal is to have it out early next week. But I will send a link to everybody that will have links to all of the 3 sessions, that will have some graphics that show you how the triads sit in the physical body. I will also have a written description for you of the triads and how they work in our body. And apparently, I think I heard that I will also be creating some sort of worksheet for you. I'm gonna have to re-listen because I kind of pay attention to most things, but sometimes don't grasp it all. But I did hear that I have an assignment from the Trinity around some sort of worksheet for you, and I think that's about helping you guys to do that inventory and assessment. So once that is all created in one on one website page so that you guys have easy access, I will publish it and send it out to each of you. And so again, I thank you. And for those of you who really like this format, I'm excited to say that I will be working with Markai. As I mentioned earlier, they are the children of the North Star. I also have had invitations to do these with some different collective energies. And when I do that page, I will actually also include who they are, who these collective consciousness beings are. So the Atlanteans and the Asusani and the Orishans, but for some of you, I say those things and you're like, I don't know what that means. And so when I do this little page for you guys, I will include who has offered to come. If I've set up the schedule by then, I'll let you know what that schedule is, and the cost. The cost is going to be, I think, $22. So hopefully accessible. If for some reason it's not accessible for you, please don't hesitate to reach out and ask me, and that will be for the live, plus you'll get the recorded information. There are resource sessions with all of these folks, and again, I will describe who these collective entities are in that material so that you can choose according to what resonates with you. So thanks for staying with me, and I appreciate all of you. Have a good night.